Welcome to the studio at That Nerd Show. I'm Marcus Blake, and this is your daily nerd news for Friday, February 7th, 2020. Our top stories of the day take us to the world of film. For fans of the critically acclaimed film from 2019, Knives Out, it looks like that a sequel is officially a go at Lionsgate, and they're even hinting at a franchise. Lionsgate CEO John Feldermeer said Thursday during the company's third quarter earnings call that a sequel to Knives Out is officially a go, hinting that the production could start up for a follow-up of the money-making and critically acclaimed Rian Johnson whodunit, and it's imminent now. The news comes at the film starring Daniel Craig, which earned Johnson his first Oscar nomination for original screenplay, and nearing the 300 million mark at the worldwide box office. It was one of three films to come out of during Lionsgate's fiscal third quarter, along with Midway and Bombshell. As a result, the film revenue rose 30% in the quarter, the company said. But Johnson had been openly hinting that he was keen to do a sequel to Knives Out, his contemporary spin on an Agatha Christie-esque murder mystery with Craig's private investigator Benoit Blanc at the center of the tale. Chris Evans, Anna de Armas, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Michael Shannon led the strong ensemble cast. The film was a critical hit from its late November release and was nominated for 3 Golden Globes, including Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Johnson also racked up nominations for Best Original Screenplay at the BAFTAs, the Critic Choice Awards, and the WGA Awards. In a statement, I had such a good time making it, he said, such a great time working with Daniel, and now just seeing the audiences are responding to it, the idea of continuing it on seems like it would be a blast, the director said on Oscar nomination day. But there's a lot that has to happen before this can happen. First and foremost being writing a script, so we'll see. Feathermere also said on today's earnings call that John Wick 4 is also gearing up for production, as the CEO touted the company's ability to craft franchises from its IP. Another film in the pipeline is Chaos Walking, the sci-fi film based on Patrick Ness's YA young adult franchise that stars Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland. Responding to an analyst's question about its status, Lionsgate Motion Picture Group Chairman John Drake said that the Doug Liman directed pick expected to be fully locked by mid-April, with a release date announcement coming as early as Friday. Lionsgate originally scheduled the release for March 1st, 2019. It did not happen. They said in a statement, with 2 of our biggest stars on the planet today leading that movie, adding that all that photography is finishing following from reshoots and script tweaks, we got our work done and we're in good spot, and you will see this very soon when we are releasing it. It is scheduled to come out later this year, though. In other movie news, Gareth Edwards, who just recently, over the last couple of years, directed the Star Wars story Rogue One, he has his next film. It is a sci-fi movie, and it's in the works at New Regency. He's found his next film after the success of directing Rogue One. The Helmer is teaming with New Regency on an untitled sci-fi film that he wrote and will direct. This has been confirmed. Plot details are under wraps, but it's based on the original idea by Edwards and is set in the near future. New Regency will produce and finance the film, and Rogue One's Kerry Hart will also produce. Rogue One was the first standalone effort in the Star Wars universe, and it grossed over $1 billion worldwide in its 2016 release. Before that, Edwards directed Godzilla, which grossed $525 million globally. But anyway, New Regency, it has an overall deal with the Star Wars home Disney format, and it's been putting together a hot project expected to draw a strong cast. The company has been behind such great films as Little Women, Ad Astra, The Lighthouse, and of course Bohemian Rhapsody, which was a great hit a couple of years ago. And Little Women, the Sony pick, adapted and directed by Greta Gerwig, is up for 6 Oscars on Sunday, including Best Picture. In other movie news, Universal puts their new creature feature on the slab. Matt Stawski will be helming Monster Mash. Anyway, Universal Pictures has hashed Monster Mash as an original musical film for Matt Stawski to direct, with Will Ridger writing the script. Temple Hill Entertainment's Marty Bowen is also producing. The idea is being, kept close to the vest, so to speak. It was hatched by Stawski to make his directing debut. He is a Grammy-nominated music video director who also directed side effects for Awesomeness TV. Widger's work includes Dan for Legendary and Magic the Gathering and Lumberjanes, both for Fox. John Fisher is spearheading for Temple Hill, and he will executive produce with Stawski, and of course Universal's Senior Vice President of Production, Jayon Munford, with creative executive Tony Durrett, will oversee the project on behalf of the studio. And since this is a music, and if you're not familiar with it, the Monster Mash is one of the most popular Halloween songs. So it looks like we may be getting a musical with Universal based on that song. Once we know more, we will let you know more. In other movie news, The Thicket has rounded out its cast with Sophia, Lillis, Noomi Rapace, and Charlie Plummer, and they will be joining Peter Dinklage in this thriller. Sophie, Lillis, Noomi Rapace, and Charlie Plummer are joining Peter from Game of Thrones in this film. It's currently in pre-production, but the film is based on the novel by author Joe R. Lansdale, with a script by Chris Kelly, and will be directed by Elliot Lester from Nightingale. The story follows an innocent young man named Jack, played by Plummer, who goes on an epic quest to rescue his sister, Lillis, after she is kidnapped by a violent killer, Cutthroat Bill, played by Noomi Rapace, and her gang. Jack enlists the help of a crafty bounty hunter named Reginald Jones Dinklage, a grave-digging alcoholic son of an ex-slave and a street-smart prostitute. The three track the girl into the deadly no-man's land known as the Big Thicket, a place where blood and chaos reside. In a statement, this is what they had to say. We are thrilled to bring this strong commercial project with an amazing ensemble cast to Berlin, which it looks like that's where it's going to be filmed. They also went on to say that Rapace and Dinklage are global stars in their own right, but to have up-and-coming talent such as Lillis and Plummer in the Thicket makes the project truly exciting. We'll let you know more details about that film as more details come out. And that is what's going on in the world of film today. Now, turning our attention to TV and streaming news. Minnie Driver re-ups her pod deal with 20th Century Fox TV and sets a new dramedy at FX. The former Speechless star has extended the pod deal for her Huge Fan Productions banner at 20th Century Fox TV, the studio behind the ABC comedy series. She has set up her first project under the new deal, and it's a dramedy series based on the Texas Monthly article "A Tree is Known by Its Fruit," which is in development at FX. The project, about a West Texas family who own and run a pecan empire, is a potential starring vehicle for Driver, on which she would also serve as executive producer. Marty Cow, Huge Fan's head of development and production, would co-executive produce. But this makes Driver's return to FX, where she starred in The Riches. This was a 2007 series that earned her a Golden Globe Award, and she starred alongside the famed British comedian Eddie Izzard. That show lasted 2 seasons on FX. Huge Fan has secured the rights to the Irish author's Maeve Higgins' best-selling memoir, Maeve in America, Essays by a Girl from Somewhere Else, for development as a television series. Maeve in America humorously recalls the trials and tribulations of the successful author and comedian who leaves Ireland for New York City. But in a statement, it was said that, we love Minnie's work on Speechless and feel very fortunate to continue our relationship with, said by Carolyn Cassidy, president of Creative Affairs 20th Century Fox TV and part of Disney TV studios. She's smart, ambitious, and is eager to produce as well as to act. We're happy that she will be staying in the fold here at FX. In other TV news, especially Doctor Who news, it looks like that Ian McElhinney and Steve Toussaint will be guest stars on season 12 in the two-part season finale. Anyway, Ian McElhinney and the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time star Steve Toussaint are set to guest star, and will be a two-part season finale. The pair star in the two episodes, which will see Jodie Whittaker's Doctor come face to face again with one of her most dangerous and relentless enemies, the Cybermen. The two-part finale, Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children, see the Doctor try and defeat one of her deadliest foes. Written by Chris Chibnall and directed by Jamie Magnus Snow, the episodes will air later this month on BBC One in the UK and BBC America. But anyway, Chibnall, who eschewed the two-part series in the first season in the Doctor Who last year, told reporters that last year that the current season will play with different narrative structures. Ian McElhinney, who also starred in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, said, "I very much enjoyed my time on Doctor Who. The team were a delight to work with, and everyone was very supportive and welcoming. All in all, it was a blast." You can also see Ian McElhinney as playing the grandfatherly figure in a great show called Dairy Girls, and two seasons of that are actually on Netflix. But Steve Toussaint, who also starred in Judge Dredd and Mutant Chronicles, said it was an honor to play a part in the giant of, this big giant British TV production that is Doctor Who. What's not to like? I had such a great time working with Jodie and the family. It's another thing that I got to cross off the bucket list. But anyway, Matt Stevens, the executive producer, added, "We're delighted to have Ian and Steve on board the TARDIS for the drama-filled two-part season finale. Their wide-ranging talent and versatility as actors helped bring series 12 to a dramatic conclusion. They were an absolute joy to work with, and we can't wait for viewers to see them again in action." That's what's happening in the world of TV and film. So now we turn our attention to gaming news, and we only have a couple of items today in gaming news. The first one being that that new games from the Mafia 3 studio and ex-Sledgehammer boss are on their way. That was announced today. It's been a quiet winter, but it is coming to an end, and tons of upcoming games on the horizon, and it sounds like Take-Two will add at least 2 more projects of its own to the list in the next few months. This is the parent company of 2K Games, Rockstar, and Private Division, and they took a conference call with adolescent investors that laid out their future plans. One analyst asked about the status of 2 studios, specifically Hangar 13, which has gone quiet since releasing Mafia 3 in late 2016, and the new studio led by former Sledgehammer Games co-founder McElhinney, and formerly called 2K Silicon Valley. But they stated, in regards to this question about Hangar 13 and McElhinney Studio, I wish I could tell you more about what's working on because it's very exciting, both of the studios. Take-Two President Carl Slab said, but we're incredibly excited to have the teams at Hangar 13 studio head that's led by Blackman, and also Michael's yet to be named studio as well, working on new and exciting projects. So far, it looks like all we know is that they do have 2 games in the works. And they also stated, as I've said before, our pipeline is very diverse and very large, and we're going to share with you more about that in the coming months, and these 2 projects are obviously part of that. So you can certainly expect that there will be games coming out of these studios, and of course I said that we wish we could tell more about them, but stay tuned because they're very exciting. But also, according to Slab, we'll hear more about both Hangar 13 and Silicon Valley's unannounced projects in the months ahead. It's a little odd to say, but a good place that they could be making more announcements is E3 2020, and that is only 4 months away. The last piece of gaming news that we'd like to let you know about is for those of you that are still playing Anthem, and we are some of those gamers. Again, it was our multiplayer of the year last year. There's some updates on their latest patch. It is still Christmas in Anthem. The latest patch extends the Ice Tide event until February, but somehow they forgot to take down the decorations. So, ding dong, merrily on high, the latest Anthem patch notes are here, and they're extending the Ice Tide seasonal event until February. That means you've been enjoying the layers of ice that have been blanketed across Bastion. They're going to be around for a little while longer. However, it also means that the Christmas lights are still hanging up around the forge. So we'll definitely let you know more about when that's taken down or what's happening. But if you've noticed that, that's the reason that's going on. So it looks like the Forge and Anthem is pretty much like any of us, where it just takes forever to get the Christmas lights down and all the decorations before, 2 months into the new year. But a little bit more about it. The Ice Tide season is in update 1.60, and it was introduced as a seasonal theme with seasonal themed updates, free play, time trials, new challenges, and more goodies. In that original update, the patch notes said that sharper devices have brought localized ice storms into Bastion, bringing excitement with every glittering snowflake across the region. Ice is rare here, but when it arrives, people know that Ice Tide celebrations will soon follow. Holiday lights shine throughout Fort Tardis, their bright color sparkling over the blankets now. But here's a little bit about what this patch, some more about the update of 1.62. Like I said, the colors are still there. They're going to still stay through February, but there's been some bugs and fixes and improvements within Anthem, and it's only right to let you know what's going on there if you're still playing this game. And like I said, we are. Reduce the wait time to start time trials from 60 seconds to 20 seconds. The Tyrant Mine should now be available in the seasonal Ice Tide Challenge rotation. This was supposed to be with Ice Tide, however, there was an issue that emerged in testing, and they didn't feel comfortable releasing the Tyrant Mine until they could fully resolve the issue. They fixed an issue where seasonal wreaths were playing their collections around effect when they spawned into the world incorrectly. Of course, there are weekly stronghold challenges, completion credit, and it's now correcting the tackling based on the completed strongholds and not how many players are in that session. The soldier's reward inversion is now correctly using its own icon as intended. They also fixed an issue that was preventing the electric orbs from correctly spawning in the Arcade Defense Annex in the Tyrant Mine. They resolved a problem with the daily contracts challenge where the amount of minor crystal rewards was incorrect. The challenge will now correctly grant 500 crystals. They've raised the first fog wall in the Heart of Rage to prevent gaining score multiplayer earlier than intended, and of course they resolved an issues with the Frostmaster challenge not properly displaying whether or not Left Out in the Cold had been completed. They resolved issues with the collection, Left Out in the Cold being blocked by an issue with some wreaths. For those who are unable to interact with any more of those wreaths, but the challenge has not been completed, entering free play will automatically complete the challenge. They resolved an issue with the time trials, not tracking progress towards challenges, and they resolved an issue where players were unable to access the seasonal store from the launch bay. But anyway, that's what's going on in their latest patch of 1.62. But like as we stated before, you'll get to relive Christmas just a little bit longer in Anthem. And a little quick note about that game. As I said before, it was our multiple player of the year. They've updated a lot of things. It's been great. It is still one of the best games to go back and play with friends. Me and our squad leader, K. Scott Cooper, have played a lot. Especially ranking up a little bit more. So there's always something to do between free play, trials, and if it seems like the random missions kind of get stale after a while, just keep playing. As I said, there's always something fun to do. And for those of you that aren't sure about that game or whether you should download it, well, let me give you a little bit more information. You can usually find used copies for about $3 to $5 at GameStop now. And it is available through EA Access for a full download. So if you're paying the $5 a month fee with the EA Access monthly pass, you'll be able to get it there. And now we turn to our question of the day. In honor of the Oscars that are coming out on Sunday, February 9th, which is just 2 short days away, I thought it'd be kind of fun to ask the all-important question about the Oscars. Yes, there are many categories and many predictions, but there's always one category that really truly counts. It's not about the actors and their awards or anything, or original screenplay. It's always Best Picture. So let us ask, what film should win Best Picture? We're not asking for your prediction. We're asking what you think should be Best Picture. The Oscars are always filled with controversy. There are always pictures that win that shouldn't win. We're talking about an awards ceremony where there are a lot of snubs. This year has had a lot of interesting snubs, mostly by women directors and some of their films, even though other award ceremonies have recognized their talent. But, when we look at the horizon of, the category of all of everything that's up for Best Picture, from, Knives Out to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, The Joker, Little Women, Jojo Rabbit, 1917, and even films that didn't get nominated for Best Picture. There are a lot of great films that came out in 2019. So I think it's only right that we ask the question of what film should win Best Picture. Should it be The Irishman, the same old Mafia movie that we've seen over and over by a has-been director named Martin Scorsese, no matter how much we like him? I mean, for me, I personally feel like I enjoyed that film the first time when it was called Goodfellas. Should it be The Joker? A weird, out-of-place type of origin story for one of the greatest villains in the DC universe, that feels more like a remake of Taxi Driver by Martin Scorsese than an actual DC comic book film? Is it going to be 1917, the epic World War I pick by Sam Mendes, which is an incredible film, and the cinematography is absolutely brilliant? Will it be Little Women? Another adaptation, even though it's been done by a great female director and had this wonderful female cast, not taking away from how great this film is. Or could it be my personal favorite, Jojo Rabbit, the dark comedy satirical film about a kid trying to be a Nazi but trying to understand why the Nazis hate the Jews, and of course his imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler, played by the director Taika Waititi. It's not really about, I don't think it should be about our predictions, or do we get it right. I think it's about it should always come down to what film should win. And there are obvious films that should win Best Picture. I've always had a big gripe about the Oscars ever since 1998, when Saving Private Ryan did not win Best Picture, and Shakespeare in Love did. I think it was a travesty to have some stupid romantic Shakespearean comedy just because you had a glorified cast in it. Not to say that it wasn't a good film in its own right, but it certainly wasn't any better than the Steven Spielberg directed World War II pick with Tom Hanks and Matt Damon. There are times that the Oscar kind of rewards directors by giving them the Best Picture nod. Return of the King, the last Lord of the Rings film in that trilogy. Yeah, it won Best Picture, but was it really the Best Picture that year? Against Million Dollar Baby or Mystic River, or my personal favorite that year, Master and Commander. It felt like that Slumdog Millionaire, even though it's worthy of Best Picture, it was kind of forced, and it was a PC movie, like it's time for India to finally get a Best Picture, but then they get snubbed in other categories. And then we have movies that come out where La La Land, which is just an homage to the golden age of Hollywood and their musicals, gets nominated. Thank God it didn't win. But I think it's fun to talk about what film should win, because if this really is about the best picture, the best movie, the one that not only can make us laugh, make us cry, that has everything working from it, from a great story, that it's almost damn near perfect, okay, the one that we would watch over and over, or even if it is truly culturally relevant. Nobody denies that Schindler's List should have absolutely won Best Picture in 1994. But then again, Amistad got snubbed, and that was an absolute relevant film about slavery and kidnapping and in a dark time in American history with a great cast. But I guess you can't give the best, not every Steven Spielberg film can win Best Picture, or Clint Eastwood. And Richard Jewell wasn't even nominated this year, and that 25 years later, we're still dealing with the ramifications of a 24-hour news cycle that basically condemns a man who says they're guilty before all the facts are out and does sloppy reporting. God, where have we seen that before? But I would be curious to know what you think. We all would here at That Nerd Show, and we have our own hefty debates. So, what film should win Best Picture for the Oscars on Sunday night? Not what you think, but what should. What really is the best film of 2019? Share your thoughts with us on Twitter. You can tweet us out at That Nerd Show. As I said, it's a great discussion question for the weekend as we all pay close attention to the Oscars. And we will be doing our Oscar roundup on Monday. But before you go and we close this out, help support the show by buying some of our nerd swag at mynerdswag.com. You can get a Baby Yoda t-shirt. That's right, we have our own Baby Yoda t-shirts right here at That Nerd Show. There's lots of ways that you can support us, even with our Patreon account, but buying a really cool, fun, nerdy, retro t-shirt is the best way to help keep the lights on here. So, I'm Marcus Blake with That Nerd Show. Thank you for watching. This has been your daily nerd news for Friday, February 7th, 2020. Until the next time, goodbye.